So this is Jim Gardner, CEO of ViewSpection, with Jay Kramer, COO of ViewSpection. We've been working together quite a few years, Jay.
7 at least, yeah.
Yeah. We have been working on self-service inspections. That's where ViewSpection started out as and has iterated, pivoted, and grown. So we are leveraging self-service inspections in the underwriting, property, and casualty world. So we're going to spend some time with you, 20 minutes or so, and talk about that. Gardner Group is the backbone of ViewSpection because we've been doing inspections for 30 plus years. I'm a second generation inspector. So we've been out in the field in the Northeast, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, etc. We still have 100 inspectors out in the field. Jay and I both work with them daily. And 7 years ago, we started ViewSpection to take a different look at how we can get inspections done in a digital sense. And today we're helping carriers and agencies optimize their inspection process, get better results. So let's just take a trip through. We're going to walk you through what we call responsive loss control. And Jay, how would you describe responsive loss control as it relates in today's digital world, the insurtech-driven world, as it relates to how most of us have been used to doing traditional inspections?
Right. Well, now there's a lot more technology available and a lot more touch points with loss control. So what responsive loss control really means is you can, start with one method or workflow and skip to another, use it to make a decision, and utilize technology as well as a guided approach to loss control to get the results that you need.
Yeah, exactly. And the circle here reflects that. You can start out with property intelligence like Better View, Hazard Hub, CarPy data, and from that, it may release some hazard triggers. I mean, what type of triggers, typically pop for the property intelligence providers, Jay?
Well, if you're looking at aerial imagery, you may be looking at roof defects or tree overhang, that sort of thing. So
Right.
that could be a decision point to, request a physical inspection to get more detail than you can get on the property intelligence report.
Right. So that's a great starting point. And when you say physical
Yeah.
inspection, we have options now. You can do self-service with a policyholder, get a physical inspection done, or you could do a field inspection with a full-time inspector out in the field. So though, now we know that there's a pool there, but from the oblique imagery from high above, we can't tell if it's a locking gate, even if there's complete fencing in place. So self-service is a really good, low-cost, fast turnaround time, 3-4 days to find out some answers that are triggered by that. And then we're going to take a look at guided self-service, one-to-one videos, and field inspections. But Jay, as you often remind me, these are just options, right?
Right, exactly. And you could start with any one of them, or perhaps, like we just said, start with property intelligence and then make a decision on what you need next.
Right. Yeah, starting points. Really, we're taking now a more granular look at where we can start with loss control that we couldn't start with 5 to 6, 7 years ago, because now we're really focused as much on tech as we are engagement. Engagement is becoming more and more important. And so now we can start at point of sale with the agent. And how do you see the agent fitting into loss control, Jay?
Well, for years, agents have been inspecting properties that they are covering, but, that's been a little lost. And also with distances and technology, I think agents aren't, going out to the properties as frequently as they used to. This gives them an opportunity to get a virtual inspection engaging the policyholder in that process. So they can invite the policyholder to take some pictures of the property, and that gives them a starting point. And the best time for them to do that is at the point of sale.
Right. And that puts it in with the submission, which makes a lot more underwriting value. Yep. And post-bind's where the loss control usually happens, and that's when it's typically ordering a field inspection. Now, that's going to take 30 days. You can also do a post-bind invitation for self-service, and you're going to get that in 7 to 10 days. Renewal is a great time to pick up that communication that may be a little bit soft at the moment, but doing a renewal inspection is a great time to check in on changes and ask about things that are new, like wildfire or different things. So value add opportunities we're going to take a little bit of a closer look at too, because we look at inspections as connections. So it's a great jumping off point for agents and carriers to stay top of mind. So engagement today, we've got from a technological point of view, of course, there's email. Let's send an invitation via email. Of course, it often gets buried, whereas an SMS, a text invitation, can stay, a little bit more accessible. And with COVID, we've often seen the QR code jumping down to the bottom there, coming more to the top of going to a restaurant and snapping a picture of a QR code and looking at your menu. It works great with ordering inspections, inviting policyholders to hop in, spend 15 minutes with us and get a walkthrough of their property. And Jay, tell me, explain a little bit more about the URL and the dedicated.
Certainly. We dedicate a URL to a particular carrier or agent. So that is their specific inspection, and it's tied to our system. So they can publish that QR code in an email or put it in a publication. It can be in print. It can be on their website. And anyone can scan that QR code and be directly connected to our web app. And when they complete the photo survey, that report gets sent directly back to that carrier or agent. Yeah.
So a lot of ways to engage, and tech really doesn't do you any good if you're not getting engagement. And we're going to talk about how you can go from a 30% engagement to up to 80–85% engagement just with some tweaks to the workflows. So the customer experience is still, it's what you would call app-oriented. I mean, it's going to be on their smart device. It's going to be on their tablet. And how they experience it today, we can offer a web app where it's just that simple URL, no download, going to the app stores. But we also do have the native apps in iOS and Google. And with those, I mean, they're, for residential, easily completed in 15 minutes. Commercial, we look at attention span of 30 minutes. You have to look at when you're building an app for a policyholder, the experience that they should be within their attention span. So 30 minutes can get an awful lot of information captured with a commercial risk. And of course, one of the things you've got to be looking at yourself is saying, hey, we have unique needs for our underwriting. Well, we're fully configurable, right? And Jay, I mean, that's something that you specialized in, and you worked at the video part of this too. But tell us a little bit more about configuration capabilities and how you're using video today.
Certainly. Also, what you were saying about attention span, that's something we really take into consideration when we're building these apps and configuring them for our customers. But it's important to note that it is really easy to, make a change immediately. So you may find that, you're asking too many questions and you're losing them. It's going beyond 30 minutes. So, we can go in and edit that app and have it done in an hour. So that is really useful, as well as the video blasts. Like you were saying, we can incorporate a video button on the web app. So when they tap that, it gives them 10 seconds, a 10-second video blast. So that can be used for commercial property, commercial cooking, interior or the exterior of the property, and you get a lot of information just from that 10-second blast.
Right, and that video captured that, what you just said, that if you capture 4 10-second videos, you got 40 seconds. So if after a loss, heaven forbid that were to happen, you've got some immensely valuable video which shows what the facility, premise, home looked like at a certain point in time. It's super valuable, easy to capture. Right, and it supplants it supports the remote results that we're getting with the app. I mean, take a look at these pictures and think back as an underwriters that you are. You're consuming loss control from vendors. Like I said, I've performed and reviewed tens of thousands of reports. What we get from the policyholder is almost indiscernible from what the field inspector turns in, because the app directs them. Sometimes better. Exactly. And we say that in good stead. I mean, one of the things that we were often asked when we started is, isn't ViewSpection going to put Gardner Group out of business? If policyholders do all of the inspections? And that's where we've gotten with responsive loss control, is it's become a cycle, a circle of what you use for a specific policy or line of business. But these are fantastic results, and you can tell a lot, not just from the images, but from how many images you get, et cetera, et cetera. But really the biggest question gets to be defects. What will the policyholder share with the carrier or the agent, Jay? I mean, do they hide
everything? Well, with the policyholder, they don't necessarily know exactly what the carrier is looking for. They don't know what to hide, if they were even to try to do that. But it's been our experience that once the policyholder opts in to do a self-service inspection, they're very transparent. In fact, we're getting sometimes 4 times the number of photos we normally have in a field inspection. So they're going to town. They're taking pictures of everything.
Yeah. And Jay, you're responsible for most of the production and overseeing the production of the apps. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've got a library of apps. We customize for the carriers. I mean, to just talk about the platform that you've got in place for making a specific app for a carrier or an agent.
Well, since it's completely customizable or configurable, you can really build an app to inspect anything. You can ask any number of pictures, questions. There can be parent-child, questions. If you have this, then take pictures of that. And it's really an easy interface. It's drag and drop. You just select the type of question you want to ask, or the photo or the video, and drop it into place. We can also customize and configure the web report to appear even differently than the app layout. So it's really user-friendly and configurable. And we're actually getting more and more requests from our customers to have the ability to configure their own reports.
Yeah.
And their own apps. So it's easy enough for anyone to learn it pretty quickly.
Yeah, and following up on that, if you were to take small business, you can go into a convenience store as a risk and you build an app for that, but have it also be responsive to, is there cooking, is there gasoline, is there propane, are there other occupancies there? So depending on the specific demographic or clientele that you have, you can and should have a very specific gathering point for your information. That's what ViewSpection does.
And you can have any number of apps as well. So you can have one for a convenience store with or without a gas station. So there can be additional modules you can build onto it.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and so a few case types of use cases here. Residential, again, this would be self-service, and this carrier chose an email and an SMS invite platform with video capture. One of their triggers, beyond imagery and with AI triggers, is that it was 15 years or older, because that's when things start to break. So that's a particular use case, and ViewSpection probably was most well known for residential back when we started. I would say that with the configurability that we built in over the years, and now especially the web app capability, the commercial is really becoming as popular, if not more popular, than residential. And Jay, can you explain, when I say a guided engagement, we touched on that very, very quickly in the beginning. But in commercial, using a guided engagement, we've had a lot of success with. Tell us more about how that works.
Right. So there's two different kinds of guided surveys. We handle just the call to the policyholder and the engagement, getting them to do the self-service inspection, explaining it to them, making them feel comfortable with the process. But then with commercial, our carriers want more detailed information. So we have a virtual inspector that will make the call, work with the policyholder, send them the invitation, and then go through and review the report once it's uploaded, looking for defects in the photos, and additionally doing an interview and getting all the information that the carrier wants about that risk and about the policyholder.
And the end result of that is something that looks an awful lot like a full-blown field inspection at a fraction of the cost, done in a fraction of the time. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely, with the same expertise as a field inspector.
Yeah, and in our case, because ViewSpection is a full service platform for inspections, not only do we provide pure self-service where an invitation is sent and the inspection is completed, our guided platform allows us to offer, full start to finish, including interviews with that. So it's not just tech, it's service. Special risks we touched on before. These are things that we like to look at as look at the front page and see what's going on in the world. So New York City, COVID, pop-up stores, sidewalks, restaurants. These were so prevalent. And, if you've got a book of 10 or 20,000 restaurants, how many of your restaurants have a new exposure out on the sidewalk, out actually in the street? Yeah. And wildfire, of course, no real story needed on that, but you can help your policyholder get a handle on their risk with things like better view. The oblique imagery can identify things. However, the app can really help you engage with the policyholder because they've got questions. The most recent study showed that 40% of the policyholders were looking for guidance on exactly things like wildfire defense. So put an app in their hand, start the conversation, gather a bunch of photos, and come back and talk to them about what they can do to mitigate that. What is their defensibility?
That's a great point. Self-service gives you an opportunity to start the conversation. You get that report back. You have a starting point to then make a decision. That's what we call responsive loss control.
Yeah. And, again, Better View, Hazard Hub, they can identify the triggers that you want to follow up on. And what we started with and what we're ending with is you don't have to go to a field inspection anymore. You don't have to go to something that's expensive and takes a lot of time. You may end up there, but you don't have to start there. And it's really, if you can get 80 to 85% of your stuff done without a field inspection that's expensive, that's a budget benefit. And when we compare them, let's just take a quick look at it. Self-service, purely done by the policyholder with a invitation through SMS, $15, commercial or residential. You're going to get that back within 10 days. If you don't get it back in 10 days, you're probably not going to get it. So that's why we walk towards the self-service guided, where with the hand-holding and nurturing that starts at $25 and the prices go up as you start to include defects and Q&A, and as Jay was saying, the full interview. But still, these are substantially much less than an interior residential field survey that starts at $55 and the commercial field surveys at $85. And you're going to be hard pressed to get a good commercial survey that's $85. $150 is a place to start. And of course, we have been in the midst and continue to be in the midst of COVID. So field inspections are a wild card today as we continue to move through the different variants of a pandemic. So wrapping things up, to get in touch afterwards, best to get in touch with Jim. Jay's handling the customer service. He will handle onboarding with you, and he oversees the app development. And I can help you with sales and going a deeper dive, because this is not about a simple piece of technology. This is about an inspection platform that is built on service and engagement, and you can't get that just out of an app. Jay, I really appreciate you being on this call and us getting the chat. I would say that this is sort of the real world for us. This is what people can expect. All of our team sort of interacts like us. I mean, what would you say to close things off as we leave?
Well, we're very hands-on. Like Jim said, I handle onboarding, and we look forward to finding out what your process is, what the best workflow would be for you, and we can build our process around that and build apps that will facilitate that as well.
Yeah, well said, and look forward to connecting deeper. Take care and have a good day.